Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Maryland Apex Accelerator event. Glad you could join us today. I'm your host, Yasmin Razak, and I'm the Marketing and Training Coordinator here. Today, the topic is an introduction to government contracting for transportation and logistics providers. And we're very excited to have this topic today. It's the first time we've done this. So hopefully you will get a lot of great information from this. It is led by Melanie Patterson, who is the founder and CEO of Integrity Global Logistics and Team Integrity Knowledge Center, both of which are headquartered in Chicago. Her companies specialize in providing transportation services and business consulting to help small to large business owners build, grow, and scale their operations strategically. We'll get started very shortly, and there will be opportunities for you to ask Melanie your questions by typing them in the chat box on your screen. We will pause for Q&A at the end of the presentation. As always, I do have to let you know that this webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel, and a copy of the slides will be emailed to you after the webinar. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Maryland Apex Accelerator, it's our mission to help Maryland businesses compete in federal, state, and local government procurement processes. Our services are no cost to you. So if you need to speak to a counselor, please register on our website, marylandapex.org. Okay, well, that's enough from me today. Good morning, or rather, good afternoon, Melanie. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Once again, I just want to formally thank Maryland Apex on behalf of Team Integrity for having us here to talk about a very dynamic industry as transportation and logistics. And so I see that people are coming into the room and entering in. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are coming from. Hello, hello, hello. And let's get started with where is everyone headquartered at? So I'm here in the Windy City of Chicago, as she just stated. Anybody else from Chicago? Where is everyone calling in from or dialing in from? And then I also would like for you to also let me know how many people in the room are in transportation asset base and how many people in the room are brokerage non-asset based. All right, we have Vegas, we have Florida, we have Maryland, DC, Maryland, of course. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Transportation. Any brokers? Oh, brokers, Monica. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's always good to see the diversity in the room because everyone is not here asset based in transportation in that capacity. Oh, okay. So we have quite a few brokers in the room. I love that. I love that. Love that. Love that. All right, awesome. Let's get started. So once again, we are going to be talking about driving growth within transportation and logistics within the government contracting space. So let's cover what we're going to be discussing. So I'm going to make a brief introduction into myself and some of the footprints that we've made in the industry, as well as something that is very important, of course, the challenges that we face in business as small business owners, as entrepreneurs, and then really understanding the government as a customer, which looks very different from a shipper or a manufacturer. Then we're going to talk about building a recession-proof empire and onboarding the government as one of your customers. And then how are we going to actually implement these solutions so we can build, grow, and scale our business? And then we will have a time period set aside to open it up for Q&A and conduct some healthy dialogue. Oh, commercial insurance. Okay, interesting. Thank you all for being here. All right, let's kind of get started. I know many of you are interested in learning about government contracting. And so a lot of people have heard about government contracting, but are not really aware of how to partner the two together within transportation and logistics. And so we know that the government is the world's largest customer, but do we know that one of their top 5 spends are with transportation and logistics? And so this is how I really started out understanding what is government contracting and how can I onboard the government as one of my customers. And so before we kind of dive in, let's talk about who is Melanie and Team Integrity, as we coin ourselves: Integrity Global Logistics, Integrity Transit Company, and Team Integrity Knowledge Center. So I am a former nurse practitioner, to be honest. And so how many people in the room are still currently working a 9 to 5 or just left the 9 to 5? I was that girl. And so I practiced as a nurse practitioner, ER trauma, for about 7 years. And I had small children, and I was really tired of playing that corporate game, climbing that corporate ladder, if you guys understand. And so I said, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to bet on myself, and I'm going to jump into entrepreneurship full time. Transparently, I did own a few companies prior. And so I did have a little bit of an idea of what entrepreneurship looked like and the commitment that was involved with entrepreneurship. One thing I did not know is when I got into the transportation industry, this was a very, very saturated market. So how many of you guys can look to your left and your right and see a ton of trucks going up and down the road, right? How many trucking companies are there? How many brokerage companies are there, right? And so I quickly figured out this is highly saturated, but I need to really understand how can I leverage what I already have. And so I was conducting the research and I came across grants. And I said, nope, this is not it. So I started to do more research and I came across PTAC, right? Apex, formerly known as PTAC. And I discovered government contracting. And I said, aha, wait a minute, what is this? And I leveraged simply who and what I am. I am born a woman, and I am a proud minority woman. And so I onboarded our certifications. I talked to our partners and I said, we need to structure this business as me being 51% owner, and kind of it was history from there. And so oh boy, hold on one second. Sorry about that. All right, so we went on to build this amazing team. Once again, Team Integrity, and we are a proud minority woman-owned business. We have our certifications on the state level and the federal level. And this really changed the game for us. So our very first contract was a 3-year contract with the Illinois Tollway, procuring lumber, wood, and transporting that lumber and wood to the various different construction sites along the highway, expressway. And I said, this is it. This is it. And I dived all in. And I really just kind of submerged myself within government contracting, understanding what the government was as a partner, as a customer, because it looked very different from our normal produce shippers. So we started out here in the Midwest region. And so what's gold here for us is produce. And so we had a very large fleet of reefer trailers and trucks. And I was approaching it from that aspect, which was not how this looks in regard to the realm of government contracting. And so I just kind of figured it out. And we went on to really do some amazing things here. So we have worked with FEMA, with NASA, with DOD. During COVID, everybody remember COVID? Yeah. We were the prime contractors for IEMA, Illinois Emergency Management Agency. And so we were hauling of vaccines and auxiliary supplies, from gloves to masks to hospital beds and respirators. And so this added diversity into our business, to where I went on to leverage an additional vertical within this one empire, this one organization, and branched off into courier services, where we are the proud prime awardee of a $10 million courier contract. And so this is what government contracting looks like. And I want you guys to really kind of take a second to take off that normal hat that you guys wear in regard to bumping a dock and reaching out to shippers and trying to land a lane. This is very, very different. This is government contracting. All right. So this is very large projects, very, very large missions. And so I want to just kind of address a few things, and let's take a look at the numbers and the data, because as it says, right, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. And so there are over 33 million small businesses in the US, and 21% of those businesses don't make it past the first year. By year 5, that failure rate spikes and jumps all the way to 40%. But wait, that's not it. In transportation, the odds are even steeper, and 80% fail within the first year of business. And so how are we going to set ourselves apart from all of these other transportation and logistics companies that are failing within the first year? We can see here now, to date, for the month of January alone, we had over 5,000 revocations, right? Everyone is still kind of looking for those COVID numbers and those $8 per mile. You're not going to get that on the load board, right? But where will you find those opportunities? By diversifying and onboarding the government as one of your customers. And so let's take a look at what that will look like for you. And so let's start with the challenges that we face as entrepreneurs, as business owners. Some that are in the room that are within transportation, that own assets like myself, right? We are dealt with a lot of variations, such as established working capital, maintaining consistent revenue in our business, because operating off of the low board, that's not going to get you that consistent revenue. And then the rise in operational cost. As we know, what are our top 3 largest costs as a fleet owner? Insurance for our equipment, the cost of equipment, maintenance of that equipment, and payroll for the driver of that equipment. This looks a little bit different on the brokerage side, right? Where we might not have to absorb all of that cost, right? But overall, we all are dealing with access to capital as small business owners. This is one of our most greatest bottlenecks and pain points. And then consistent revenue. How many manufacturers and how many shippers have closed their doors thus far that we have been working with? How many shippers have we landed, if any at all, that has decreased on their outbound freight and the volume that they're shipping out? We don't see that issue within the government, right? And so in regard to establishing of working capital, one of the things that I leverage is purchase orders. And so anytime you have landed a contract within the government, they're going to hand you over a purchase order for that awarded contract. That simple piece of paper is gold for us as small business owners, where we can take that to our financing institution, whether that be our big boxes, our BMO Harris, our Chase, or our credit unions, and leverage that purchase order to gain that access to capital to help us to float. And then in regard to consistent revenue, as we know, 8 o'clock hits, 7 o'clock hits actually. We're on the what? We're on the low board. Either we are on the low board booking or we're on the low board posting. Well, within government contract, especially within this niche of transportation, we primarily work off of contract-based work. And so typically you'll see that 3 to 5 year contracts posted out there, which will give us not only scalability, which everyone is really kind of looking for right now, right? Is to scale and scale and scale. But what about sustainability? So everyone, we know that we're in a fragile market. We're no longer in COVID market, and everyone is kind of struggling along to maintain. Well, if you're on a 3 to 5 year contract with the government, that looks a little bit different for you. And that also allows you to forecast, which is huge for us business owners. We really want to be able to predict what we're going to be doing year in and year out. And we're just not able to do that working outside of contracted freight. Now, let's take some examples of people who have leveraged the government. USPS, FedEx, Amazon Logistics, right? Who's import, export, drayage, intermodal? Drop it in the chat if you are. Maersk, right? How did these businesses scale? How did these businesses grow? How did these businesses and organizations become an empire? By leveraging government contracting. Ask Elon Musk, right? There is no customer better than the government. This is how you provide that stability within your company to allow you for growth. And I'm going to walk you through how they did it and how you can too. Most importantly, I want you guys to understand within the United States, freight is primarily moved under contract. About 90% sit in that. 90%. That is an astronomical number. 90% of freight is moved via contract. And so then that other 10%, 10 to 15% is moved on the spot market. So what does that tell us? Most of the freight is not on the spot market, but that's where we're going. That's where we're living and breathing as transportation, small fleet owners. But that's not where it's at. And so we have to shift that within our business now more than ever before, because it's telling you, the data is telling you that 90% of the freight is not here. But we have been going here for over the last 50 plus years to book our freight. Anybody in the room, by the way, like dinosaur age, who remembers where you go to the truck stop, you look at that actual small black and white teleprompter, that screen, and you pick up the payphone to book your loads? Why are we still practicing in this same way? It's not working. It's broke. And that has done some amazing things for us, right? Some of us are still kind of maintaining and doggy paddling along by going to the DAT low board every single day. But I want to tell you this, the DAT low board is where you are to start and not where you should live. I'm going to say that again. The DAT low board is where you are to start, but that's not where you live. The DAT low board should really be utilized for backhauls if you are on a contract, right? We still utilize the DAT low board at times. But I will tell you this transparently, as asset-based and with a brokerage, most of our freight does not even touch the low board because we're looking to build solid relationships with carriers. And so this is the mindset that I want you guys to shift and have, and understand that low board is something that you utilize as a tool and a resource, but it is not something that we base our business and our metrics and our numbers and our forecasted numbers off of. It just does not provide that stability because, as you know, look at the spot market today and what they're averaging. And so Thomas Watson is an expert and a legend within the industry that's connected with FreightWaves. Most of you guys are familiar with FreightWaves. And once again, allow the numbers to show you, not me, but allow the numbers to show you. It has not changed. Over the last 2 decades, contracted freight has still surpassed that spot market, giving you an average of about 50 cents more per mile and at least 5 years in contracted dedicated line hauls. And so this is fresh off the press from about 5 days ago. And so the current market is showing you, and especially now with everything that is going on with the current administration, we really don't want to live and breathe and harbor off of the spot market. We want to move towards that dedicated, consistent freight and that recession-proof revenue, which the government provides that, because they're not going to close the doors. They're not going to file for bankruptcy. And they will always need transportation of goods. Now, let's take some real life numbers. Anybody heard of Crowley Logistics? Drop a 1 in the chat if you've heard of Crowley. They are the world's largest logistics company. And so there should be a few people dropping a 1 in the box. All right. They are the largest logistics company. And let's see how they scaled. So starting out from 2014 is when they onboarded the government and started to understand what government contracting is. A company just like mine and yours, no different here. At Team Integrity Knowledge Center, we register and we onboard the same way, all of our clients, just the way Crowley did. And so from 2014 to 2018, they started to make some headway, right? They started probably to onboard some consultants, some advisors to help them to better understand a customer like the government, and the rest was history from there, right? So from 2018, and let's just go to 2023, they did 392 million in just government contracting. And so let's pause for a minute. I'm not telling you that government contracting has to be your only client. No. What I am saying, though, is it must be one of your clients. Diversification is key. And so having the public and the private sector, absolutely, right? Having your dedicated shippers and manufacturers, for sure. But we also need to have government revenue running through our business. They started out with trucks, and now here they are working in import, export, intermodal, and things of that nature. A shipper really can't provide that for you, right? So I started out reefer trucks running up and down the road, right? Up and down the United States. And now here we are looking, entertaining, and getting awarded warehousing contracts, distribution contracts, package and crating contracts, courier service contracts, right? This customer allows you to grow and provide that level of scalability. Now, let's take a look at Crosstown Courier, a much smaller company. Crowley, very large, very, very large organization. They have some really, really good funding behind them. Let's take a normal company like yours and ours. Look at this level of growth. These are not my numbers. This comes from usaspending.gov. This is not my numbers. I'm providing you with current data from the government. Once again, this is all public information, right? So in 2023 alone, they did $13.6 million in government contracted courier service freight. How many of you guys drop a 2 in the chat if you would like to do 13 million with just one customer alone? Drop a 2 in the chat if you would like to do business with a customer that can generate 13 million just in one customer. Absolutely. And so I just wanted to present this to you to show you how real this can be for you. Because even for myself, I really didn't understand what was possible, right? Oh my goodness, it's the government, too large, too big. But no, we got to get started. And we have to start from 2008 and we get to 2023 by very, very clear steps. All right. So let's get to know this new customer known as the government. Someone is writing on the screen, FYI. And so the government, it looks very, very different. So for instance, when we're conducting cold calling to a shipper, right? We're sometimes taking a rate con and we're looking at the shipper who sent it, who received it, and we develop an Excel spreadsheet and we just start calling fleet managers, warehousing managers, logistics coordinators. We start knocking at the door and we're telling them, hey, we can haul your freight. Well, not so much within the government. That looks very, very different. And one thing that we have to be mindful of within the government contracting is marketing versus soliciting, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So who is our customer? These are our customers right here. This is hot off the press from this morning. And I only drew down data from last year alone. So we have the Department of Defense, which is your top customer, DOD, Department of Defense. They spent 18 billion within transportation alone in 2024. Then we have our NASA, we have our Department of Ag, USDA, DOT. Every state has a DOT department, and every one of you guys should be DBE certified if you qualify for it, and start to onboard your state's DOT as one of your customers. Drop a 1 in the chat if you're a veteran. How many veterans are in the room? Awesome, Joseph. I love it. There goes your customer right there. They're looking for you, and you need to be looking for them if you have that certification. And these are the things that we talk about and educate and onboard at Team Integrity Knowledge Center. The importance of getting your service disabled veteran because your customer spent 500 million alone with you. That's a pretty good customer if you ask me. That's a really good customer if you ask me. So if we are hauling dump truck, flatbeds, things of that nature, your customer is definitely going to be Department of Defense, NASA, USDA. And then if you are more on the box truck LTL side, right, where you have 26-foot, you have Sprinter vans, you have Carrier, right? You have regular civilian vehicles. Department of Veteran Affairs is going to be your top customer. Get to know your customer. Get to know who are the obstacles within these particular departments. Who are the contracting officers currently right now placing bids out there looking for people just like you. These are live, living, breathing people behind these contract opportunities. And so we want to keep that in mind. Now, navigating the complexities of government contracting. When I got started, I was like, oh my goodness, whoa, what is this, right? It is complex, but I feel like they make it that way intentionally. And we've provided the blueprint and we just kind of broke it down so you guys can better understand what this kind of looks like for you, because it is possible. All we have to do is lay down the foundation. So let's talk about a few things. Make the vision clear. I want to remind you, you guys are the captain of this ship. You guys are the captain of the ship. You guys put the CEO name behind you, right? But are we operating as CEOs? And one of the functionalities and one of the jobs of a CEO is to bring revenue back into the business. And government contracting provides that. So I want you to shift your mindset. I want you to understand who is the government and what this will look like to onboard a customer like this. And then we need to lay down the foundation. And so what are some of those components? Now we can just presume it's the government, so it is highly compliant. But we deal with FMCSA already. That's why I like it. We deal with the complexities and the compliance parameters with FMCSA. And so GovCon is a piece of cake for us, right? Who's been audited before? Me. And so you just have to lay down the foundation of a compliant business. And so where do we start? We want to make sure that we have an articles of organization registered with our state. And we want to make sure that it is active and it is in good standing. We want to make sure that we have an EIN number and that it is in good standing with the IRS. Don't think that you're going to owe the IRS and be able to get paid by the government. It really doesn't work that way. And so those are some factors that I want you to think about. And then I want to also remind you that they don't know who you are. And so as they get to know you, as they start to build this relationship, they're going to refer to your website. And so we need to have a very, very professional website, but a website that speaks to the government, because this is one of our top customers that we want to do business with. And so not only should we have a website that caters to our core competencies, what we really do. I can't tell you how often I see a transportation company website with janitorial. That scares them, right? Your job is to provide them with trust. Your job is to conduct risk mitigation and really come to them as an expert in your particular field and in your industry. Be that, speak to that. And you can speak to that via your website. You can speak to that via your capability statement, and you can speak to that via your DSBS profile. Lay down a solid foundation so we can build this empire. And then most importantly, expert execution. Onboard a mentor, onboard Team Integrity Knowledge Center, onboard someone to help you to lay down this blueprint so you can navigate and really turn decades into years, because it is kind of complicated. But once you lay down that foundation, you're really going to rinse and repeat from there. And then most importantly, before we do anything, before we do any marketing, before we start bidding, we need to conduct market research, you guys. There is a very clear strategy that you need to utilize to understand how to conduct market research. And so the first question that I want you to start with is, what added value am I going to bring to them? Oftentimes, us as not even entrepreneurs, just as human beings, we're like, all right, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? I want you to scratch that mindset, and I want you to think about, how can I add value to this department? How can I add value to this particular project? How can I add value to this particular mission? And then most importantly, how do they purchase what I have for sale? And so it's transportation and logistics, right? So how do they purchase normal semi-truck, dry van, reefer opportunities? 484110. How do they purchase flatbed and oversized heavy haul? 484220, 484230. Specialized freight. And so we need to understand those keywords. We need to understand our next codes, our PSC codes. But one more, you guys, we need to understand our NIGP codes or UN NIGP codes, what they note them and label them as on the state level. And so we get the two confused at times. So yes, we have our federal next codes, but we also have our state level next codes, which looks very different from the federal realm. And so we need to start speaking their language. We need to understand, how do they procure our particular services? So when we present ourselves, we're presenting ourselves right there for the opportunity, because we are clear on how they buy. Market research is one component that we really miss out on. Another thing that comes from market research is, who's our current prime contractors who are winning in this space? Because there's so many opportunities. We can also subcontract and start to gain some of that past performance underneath us. So when we do start to lead as prime, we have that subcontracting experience. We're familiar with how to man a project. We're familiar with how to invoice the government and things of that nature. All right. And then building your business infrastructure. Please, 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 please do this now before getting started. We are onboarding the world's largest customer. And so they're going to really expect for you to handle yourself as a small business owner ready to do big business with the government. Right? So we talked a little bit about laying down the foundation, some of the compliance things that we need to have in place, far as articles of organization, EIN, insurance, things of that nature. But what about our business infrastructure, our back office operations? This is one of the things that I struggled with the most getting started, right? And so it looks very different because we're used to maybe having 1 or 2 trucks that we have to manage. But some of these projects we're handling, so for instance, our $10 million contract, that's 100 deliveries per day. And so you could imagine the type of invoicing, dispatching, logistics coordination, compliance that we need to have on the back end side of things to man a project like that. And one thing that we don't want to do is get started and ruin an opportunity for a lifelong customer. So they have something called the FAR and the DFAR. There are compliance things that we need to comply with so we can be successful within this industry. And so I ask of you guys to revisit that, right? Most of us should have QuickBooks in place. Most of us should have very clear processes in place so we can take on these contract opportunities and just kind of grow seamlessly with the customer that will allow us to grow with them. All right. And then network and marketing. A lot of us need to partner with Apex and attend industry day events with DOD and various different departments so we can kind of get to know them and they can get to know us. I want to say this. COVID is over, you guys. We need to step from behind the computer and we need to go out and we need to shake hands and we need to get to know them. We need to have our capability statement in hand. And we need to have a pitch that we can read off at the drop of a dime with no problem. Who we are, what we do, and how we add value in some previous projects that we've handled with no complications, right? Simple, simple pitch. We need to practice that now in the mirror with our family and go out and land the business. So you will rarely see the government approach you. How many of you guys are registered in sam.gov? Drop a 1 in the chat if you're registered in sam.gov. Drop a 1 in the chat if you're registered in sam.gov. Whoa, all right. Whoa, awesome. Great job. I'm proud of you. Amazing. Now, drop a 2 in the chat if you've been awarded a contract. We have over 10 people registered in SAM. Drop a 2 in the chat if you've been awarded a contract. Look at that, you guys. Look at that. 1 person on the state level. My $10 million contract is state, by the way. So don't get caught up in federal and state. Great job, by the way. So we're missing something. There's a clear bottleneck and there's a gap that we're missing, business owners. We're registered in SAM. That's cool. And that's the load board, if you ask me. Get off of sam.gov and start networking and marketing and understanding what is a buying plan. When are they releasing their buying plan? What projects are coming down the pipeline? And this is why we have what we have here at Team Integrity. You must have a pipeline. We're here to do business. And so these projects are renewing year in and year out. And we need to catch them at those renewal phases because this is a competitive market. Let me be honest, right? This is what you call open bidding for us to bid, but we're missing the opportunity. All right, lastly, RFPs, RFQs, IDIQs, sole sources. Let's talk about this for a minute, guys. So most of you guys are entertaining RFPs. How many of you guys have written and responded to an RFP, right? A request for proposal. We have a problem, we have a budget, and we're ready to award it. Most of you guys are like, oh, give me RFPs, give me RFPs, because we know that they're ready to award. But we're missing something here. We should also be responding to RFQs, RFIs, and sources sought. Why? Well, I have some internal colleagues that are government contractors, and according to them, not my words, they really don't take you serious until you start responding to RFQs, RFIs, and sources sought. Because then they know that you are eager, you're ready to solve their problem. And this is some of the very first handshakes that take place within the government contracting realm, is responding to an RFI and an RFQ. Now, let me tell you a true life story with one of our clients here at Team Integrity Knowledge Center. I preach to our clients the importance of responding to RFIs and sources sought because of this. So we had an opportunity come down to through their pipeline. So we have a team that scrubs the market, right? We all know SAM.gov is like overwhelming. It's like an entrepreneur's candy store, and we get lost in it. And so we have a team that scrubs the market for specific contract opportunities to your core competencies. And so one fell into his pipeline and he said, oh, I like this. I want to go for it. It's an RFI. Maybe not. I said, no, Joseph, we're going to go for this one, and let's go ahead and respond. Guess what, you guys? He was the only respondent to that contract opportunity. And they didn't know what the heck they were doing. All they knew is that they had a problem and we needed someone to solve it. Someone respond with competence and help us to bring resolution to this problem. And so Joseph and our team seamlessly wrote that proposal and responded. Now, fast forward, I don't even know if Joseph is on this call. Guess who you think won that contract opportunity? Joseph. Joseph was the only respondent, and Joseph right now is actually manning that project, and that is a 2-year project. And this is what it looks like when I talk about engaging with the government, responding to RFIs. So that RFI can very much so turn into an RFP and an awarded contract. All right, you guys. So make sure you guys are taking the opportunity to respond to these sources sought, because you may be the only respondent and you're the only competitive, you're me against me, essentially, right? And so you don't really have any competition. And so the government's like, well, here you are. And this is what it looks like when I'm talking about doing business with the government. All right. And so implementing these solutions to build, grow, and scale. What does this look like? Where do I start? You can't really necessarily do it alone, right? You can get started alone. We start with PTAC, we start with SCORE, we start with a lot of these organizations, but you're going to need someone to kind of put the puzzle together for you. And this is where we have GovCon iSource, where we talk to you about the education. We show you how to fish. We don't just fish for you, but we show you how to fish. We lay down the foundation to build your empire upon. We conduct that custom market research reporting. We build you out a pipeline where we're scrubbing the market and we're putting these contract opportunities directly at your fingertips. We're onboarding you with the various different agencies, right? How many of you guys know about US Transcom, SDDC, DOD, DIBS, DLA? Those are various different portals that we need to be registered in so we can capture those opportunities. And then the bidding process, which is a monster in its own. When we talk about writing of the proposal, submitting of the proposal, making sure that we submitted a compliant proposal, something as simple as not acknowledging an amendment can make you non-compliant, right? How do we know what questions to ask during Q&A to drive our response in that proposal? Are we really fully understanding the evaluation process so we can clearly showcase to them we are the and only vendor supplier for this particular opportunity? And then conducting that network and marketing and email marketing, so to speak. A lot of times we conduct a blast email. No, these contracting officers are getting hundreds of emails weekly. They're getting a ton of capability statements, you guys. We got to switch it up. We got to get innovative, and we need to understand how to talk their language. How do we get them to open up that email? How do we get them to take a capability briefing? What do we need to talk about on that capability briefing? What are some projects coming down the pipeline so we can showcase to them, we've done our research. We know who you are. We know the problems that you have, and we are the solution for your problem. That's what that looks like. And a lot of our clients are changing the way that they do business. This is how we are going to make it over the next few years as small business owners in a very, very fragile market. A very, very fragile market. This is going to provide you not only scalability, which I know a lot of us are looking for, but also sustainability in our peaks and our troughs of the market, of the world of entrepreneurship. All right, I know that that was a lot of information. I also want to extend to you guys a free strategy call. So you guys can scan this QR code and book a completely free strategy call. I'm also going to drop the link in the comments for you to book a completely free strategy call. Because guess what? There's a strategy that you have to walk into, especially within transportation and logistics. And I kind of have figured it out, and I am just giving away the information at this point. Did you guys know that last year the government spent $4.9 trillion last year? And only 1.5% of minorities took advantage of that opportunity. That needs to change. And that's going to start with Team Integrity Knowledge Center. Book your free strategy call, and we can talk about where do you begin? What does that look like? And what are just a few missing pieces that you need? Because that's probably what it is. All right, I really want to take a moment to open it up for Q&A. I love healthy dialogue. Any question is acceptable. No question is a dumb question. And so, Miss Yasmin, I'll let you kind of take it away in regard to Q&A.
Thank you so much, Melanie. That was a fantastic presentation. As I've said, we have never offered training on this particular industry before, so really appreciate you bringing not just your knowledge, but your experience to share with us today. Okay, so as Melanie said, now is your opportunity to ask questions or perhaps have her review anything that she mentioned earlier that you would like to hear about again. You can type it in the chat box there. And while we're waiting for you to do that, I'd just like to remind you all that your Apex Accelerator Counselor can also assist you in any GovCon related matter, whether you're with us or in another state. Please reach out to them. So do we have any questions at all? Let me see, I'm scrolling through the chat. Let's see. When I got my surety bond to be a freight broker, he told me I would have to wait 5 years to get into the contracting space. Is that true?
All right, Mr. McCormick. So you're hearing it from me, a practitioner, someone who is in the industry practicing and winning. I won our first contract 3 months after registering with the government. And so you do not have to wait 5 years to start doing business with the government. I will say this. There are some requirements and restrictions when onboarding with various different departments. For instance, right now we have FEMA TSP, FEMA Transportation Service Provider is open. It's open only once a year, you guys, by the way. Jump on top of that. That closes in the next couple of weeks. What do you need? You need an active authority. You need 300K in cargo insurance, and you need a SAC code, right? Now, take another customer within the REM, no, this paradigm, as I call it, SDDC US Transcom. They're going to want you to have an active authority, but that authority needs to be active for 3 years, right? And so onboarding with various different departments may have various different requirements. But overall, to get started with actively bidding and winning in the government contracting space, you technically just need a active business and a compliant business and be registered either on the federal level or the state level. I also want to just clear up a quick myth. You don't need sam.gov to start doing business on the state level. sam.gov is for federal government contracting. So keep that in mind. But I also do recommend that you do have both. Why not? Why not play on the state level, local municipality, and also on the federal level as well? Great question there, Joseph. All right. What is secret to getting to work with FEMA? All right, Wendy. So I just kind of gave it away, and we just had a masterclass in regard to this. And so I don't know if there's a secret, but there's just various different compliance parameters that you have to meet that I just spoke to. So yes, you need an active authority. Do you have to have assets? No. So many times you will see the TQLs of the world and the other brokerage companies, mine included, right, that are landing contracts with FEMA, and we will then subcontract or broker those opportunities out. And so you don't have to have assets, but you do have to have 300 in cargo. You do have to have a SAC code. You do have to have an active authority. You do need to be within compliance in the federal realm, right? And so those are some factors that you'll need. FEMA is a very different kind of customer, and so it moves very fast. So for instance, yes, this opportunity is open once a year, but the catastrophic incident may happen in August, in September, right? In Florida with the hurricanes. Well, if you didn't register now, you won't be able to bid and take advantage of those particular opportunities when that disaster happens. So I want you to keep in mind, it's something that you have to kind of get ready and stay ready for. It's not like the low board, like the opportunity hits and then you can take advantage of it. When FEMA calls, they're gonna send an email, right? And you have a very short window to respond. And so you just have to be ready and be registered, most importantly. Can you help a firm that does shuttle and chauffeuring? Absolutely. We have a client right now who is killing it in the DC arena with shuttling and chauffeuring of services. So we have clients who have bus services, hauling of actual passengers, which looks very different. And then we have shuttle services where you see a lot of these opportunities across the United States, really hyper concentrated around that Maryland, DC area as well. Great question, Joseph. Got a few Josephs in the room. Awesome. All right, Monica, what do you have? Is it harder for a broker with no assets to get contracts versus a carrier with assets? As a broker, I would have to sub the work out to a carrier. All right, how does TQL do it? There you have it. So you have to really read the solicitation, pull from the SOW, the scope of work, pull from the deliverables. What are they asking you for? What do you have to have? If that opportunity is requiring you to be asset-based, walk away from it. Be compliant. Once again, this is an entrepreneur's candy store. So there are opportunities coming down your pipeline every day. They are posting opportunities. And so if it's not fit for your particular business, it's just not fit. And so the overall arching answer is yes, you can be a broker and do business within this space. I'll love to help with the 300 cargo. Okay, perfect. Great job. Hi, Melanie. Thank you for this presentation. You're more than welcome. I'm honored to be here. What agency would you recommend marketing to first with a new brokerage authority? So it's not about your brokerage being new. You're just new overall to the government space. And so, number one, I want to advise you to take into consideration your corporate or your private sector experience and leveraging that. So, did you land an opportunity with let's say agriculture company who produces trees, right? And oh, here we have Valentine's Day coming up, so you're going to see a ton of shipment out of Florida of roses and flowers coming up to the Midwest, right? Speak to that to the USDA, to the Department of Ag, or your various different forest preserves. Let them know that I've had experience in the corporate realm, in the private sector, hauling of temperature sensitive floral and agricultural commodities, right? And so showcase to them and add value and speak to that, even though you're new in the space, and make sure shoulders back, chin up, step in there with some level of confidence as well. Hello, thank you. Do I need more than one truck to get a government contract? Great question, Renee. So I want to say this. I don't advise that you step to the government and say that you only have one truck if it is a large opportunity. Maybe on the municipality, county level, where they just may need one box truck for courier service of mail, maybe, right? But is that our ultimate goal? No, right? We're here to do business as a small business owner and build, grow, and scale. And so I would recommend for you to tap into your network, because your net worth is based upon your network within this space. And they have something called subcontracting, joint ventureship. And so partnering in this space is really something that I would advise. And don't look at the person to your left and your right as competition, but more so as your comp mate within this space. Great question. Thank you for that one. Do you believe one cargo van can scale with, okay, so I just kind of answered that question with the previous question that was just asked. You have to start with one, right? I started with one. You have to start somewhere. But overall, you need to understand, how are you going to add value to the world's largest customer, right? And so we will always take into consideration growth with this type of customer. Melanie, you are a wealth of information. Thank you. We don't have a lot of people talking about this within this space. And so I'm really excited to be here with you guys, just speaking to you as a practitioner, as you. I am you. Okay. I'm a business owner, and I just kind of figured it out, you guys. And I've documented that process, and we just rinse and repeat it. I'm an owner operator, so I'm trying to expand for sure. Great. Continue to expand, continue to grow, continue to study, continue to research, continue to door knock. Let everybody know who you are, how they can find you, and the added value that you provide. Another word of advice that I can give you is niche down. The niches are in the riches. You're going to come in, and yes, there's a ton of money everywhere you go. But I ask of you, get your feet wet. Speak to something that you truly do within your business, right? Speak to that, showcase that. So if you really, really are comfortable with dump truck services, right? Hone in on that, lean in on that. Talk to them, let them know that you understand the difference between the gravel and the aggregates and picking up from the various different quarries, that you have a relationship with these particular queries, and you have already a corporate net 30 account, so you can, sustain. Don't just try to grab at any and everything and bidding at any and everything, not being responsive, not really showcasing that you're a SME, a subject matter expert in it, not really being able to say, I got this, right? Start with what you know and build upon that. As I just said, I started with what I knew, right? I'm reefer, I'm temperature sensitive, I have a nursing background. And then now here we are entertaining warehousing and those different opportunities. All right, perfect. I am WOSB and WeBank, whoop, whoop, we are too. So congratulations on that. ISO and aerospace certified, whoa, Awesome. Very good. You're ready to go, Kim. Is there anything you can help with in regard to getting NASA contracts? I would love for you to schedule a free strategy call. It looks like you have a solid foundation. You're missing the team to go behind the business, to do all of the contract sourcing, to conduct the proposal writing, the actual shaking of the hands and the networking and landing of meetings. So there's various different pieces that you probably are missing, but I'll love to jump on a call and we can talk specific to your business. I follow you on IG and I saw that your interview. Okay, perfect. I couldn't wait. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, you guys. Awesome. 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 Great questions. I love where you guys are at. I love your forward thinking. Stay right there. Government contracting is not easy. Government contracting is not easy, but it takes one contract to change your life. I don't know if you guys saw that picture of the woman on the right side with our logo shirt. That's my mom. And so I was able to retire my mom this year with government contracting. Stick with it. Never give up. Never, ever give up. All right. It's going to be challenging. Onboard a team like ours. Onboard Apex to help you to lay down that foundation and stick with it. Awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you, Melanie. That was fantastic. And thank you so much for doing the Q&A as well. I'm sure you've got people really excited to learn more about selling in this industry to both state, local, and federal government. So wonderful introduction to that for everybody and to myself as well, actually. So
Oh, wow.
I'd like to thank everybody for participating today. Take advantage of the call that Melanie and her team are offering to you. I'm sure that's a gold mine of information. And of course, reach out to your Apex Accelerator counselor for other assistance to do with government contracting. And we're hopeful that we will bring Melanie back later in the year with further training on this topic. So thanks again, Melanie, for a fantastic presentation. Thank you, everybody, and we hope to see you again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.